Are we recording yet?
We are.
Well, what a terrible start. I ran out of memory on this here platform, so I'm deleting space so that it actually records and I don't have to do that weird stuff I did like 2 weeks ago because it was a mess. But hey, we're here. Parlay Pete, what's happening?
We're parlaying. That's what's happening. We're off to a pretty good start today, and just in general, a pretty good week. Like I said, this is my first drink of the week, and I'm glad I'm having it with you. How are you doing, ACW?
Doing great, man. This is my first real drink of the week, my first seltzer of the week. Let's go with that one. And I'm happy. What did you do this past weekend, man?
Oh, I don't know. Celebrated one of my really good buddies, and the idea of him getting married, since technically he's not married yet, but bachelor party out in DC. What about you?
I went to a city with a lot of mid-grade weed and mid-grade women.
Yeah.
For a bachelor party for one of my good friends in DC.
Sounds like we might have been at the same event.
We may have been at the same Airbnb.
Might have been the only two people on the second floor.
I think you're right.
Third, well, really the basement, low key.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah.
And I think you were the only person who didn't win a paintball game.
I have to think. I was on Gamble's team the entire time, so.
Oh well, he didn't win a game.
He didn't win either. Yeah, he didn't win. Yeah.
Well.
Who else? Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Well, I don't care. I was elite in game one of paintball because I got pretty much over half the group. I got at least, and I didn't get hit. Now the get back came in that second game. Obviously, I still have welts. I can still feel some of this stuff. I mean, I got lit up that last game, but a lot of that lit up was because I went up there and took one for the team and moving the damn, stick or whatever that was. But
no, that kid was an asshole.
He was, but he was my type of asshole.
Yeah, no, definitely.
To be a kid and like to kind of, it's like, you're gonna be all right one day, man.
It was very comforting because at first I'm like, oh man, we got this kid. I don't know what we're getting here
and he doesn't realize that we're a bachelor party group where half the group is not from there, and then we're not just like guys that just like are just hanging out. No, this is like an occasion, you know. So we're good, a little bit different as a group. Good thing we didn't really drink before we went though, too.
Well, some of us didn't.
Well, one of us did.
And he didn't get to dinner until the restaurant was closed.
Yep. Hey,
shout out to Josh for that sushi spot. I'll probably never do 8 courses of sushi again in my life. They were great.
It's just feeling. We got our money's worth.
We did. Yeah, absolutely. Because but we
got our money's worth. Great service. Kind of hidden nook a little bit. So
hidden behind the gay pride.
And I know that Josh sometimes is listening live. Shout outs to Josh. I know that we seem to always kind of come after Live Josh and the Philadelphia Eagles, and I know he doesn't really claim the Wizards like that anymore, but which nobody does. But
Brad Bill doesn't.
Right, Dale doesn't really even claim the Zards these days. So.
But. Yeah, we had a great time at the bachelor party. I know it doesn't really sound like it, but no, we had a great freaking time. Let me tell you though, the weed, I don't even smoke weed, by the way. And I was not in DC for women, right? So 2 things that were irrelevant to what I do. I'm married, not because it was Pride weekend in DC. That's why I'm not there for women. But dog, the weed smelled terrible. Smelled it everywhere we went.
Mm-hmm.
But it was awful weed. And the women were just, man, like, I don't even recall seeing a head turner. Like, do you?
It was a lot of 6s. There was one, if you remember, when we were walking. This was towards the sushi restaurant. There was one that was like an 8, and I think we both agreed.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah, we were like, because I made a comparison because of her face to I don't know why Jennifer Love Hewitt just came to my mind. Not her. You know, a lot of these white chicks. But now, who's Brad Pitt's ex-wife?
Yeah, Angelina Jolie.
Yes, because her lip thing was like, I was like, that's the, you know,
Yeah.
that was probably the best looking chick we saw the entire weekend.
And then when Dale took us to his bar,
there were some okays, but like it was just, it never got above. It just, DC women are men. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah, bro, it's one of those things where it's like, it's not one of those cities where you're like, hey, dog.
Going out to find that.
No, 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 man.
People will come to Atlanta to buy a bitch. You're not going to DC to buy one.
I don't even know if you're going there to get one for free.
Yeah,
unless
you're not going there to hunt.
Nah, man, it's slim pickings. What you up there drinking, man? You drinking some Captain Morgan?
No, man. It's smooth stuff, but it's just, I haven't drank all week. Remember, Whistle Pig, 10-year. Okay. You know me. Come on, you know what direction I step in.
Well, yeah, I just didn't know because that face you, man. I'm like, is this man drinking?
Well, no, it's just the whiskey, and I'm drinking
spicy palate. You know what?
Well, and what it is there's no bitters, no nothing. I'm just drinking it, and then I've got this seltzer kind of balancing it out. You know, well, not a seltzer. I'm sorry, sparkling water.
Shout out to the Boykin family.
I'm doing a whiskey water.
I'll tell you, one of the more fun parts of the bachelor party was brunch on Sunday morning.
Yes. It was good to see Zoe.
It's a different kind of fun, right? It was just hang out, sit, talk, drink grapefruit, fucking
mimosas. Yeah.
Get the schnitzel.
Right. We'll have Gambles be indecisive of whether or not he wants it or not, and then the guy telling him, well, it's not technically not on the menu, but maybe I can get him to do it for you if you want him to do it. And then he's like, no, that's okay. You know what? No, I do want to do it. I just want to try it. Like, and it's like Gambles. It's not going anywhere. I get it. You probably won't show up here by yourself or with your soon-to-be wife, but you know, you do live here. And, you know, you can get a
drove. You're not going to the airport when you leave.
Right.
Yeah, you're going home. So yeah, we're kind of starting off a little fucking stale. Sorry, guys. Sorry. We had a fun weekend. Finals? Yeah, you want to go finals, or do you want to do a quick Juneteenth piece or push Juneteenth to culture since it's culture?
Let's start with the finals. We can, you know, I mean, I tell you what, we would be remiss if we did not talk about Juneteenth. So we can quickly give a shout out, I guess, to that. You got the legendary shirt that you made 4 years ago. Three. You did it during COVID.
Yeah, 2020.
So, you know, shout out to Juneteenth and
shout out to Juneteenth and shout out to everybody who bought shirts. My pockets appreciated it.
Yeah. How many of those did you sell?
Well over 100.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
the trap was jumping for a minute. Then I had a huge overstock, and I donated them. Don't know if anybody's gonna take them, but I was like, you know what? I don't really want to sell them anymore. And yeah, I just, you know, you still came out on top. So like, yeah. I mean, yeah, we're eating costs, but we still ended up in the black. So took them.
Do you have any remaining?
Huh?
Do you have any remaining?
No, I donated all of them.
Oh wow!
I got a text 2 days ago about, hey, you got a shirt? You got the shirts? I said, shit, some money I just lost.
Well, and that's what I was thinking. I was thinking if you held on to them a little bit longer, you could have just, you know.
Well, some of it
around that same time next year.
Well, some of it is brand pivoting because I mean, I'm wearing the shirt today, but I do think at times this shirt is too divisive for certain conversations, and kind of crossing that bridge with certain minds. You won't get them to see Juneteenth. You'll only get them to see the red slash.
I'm sorry, hold on. Some business email just got sent down here.
Oh man, nobody wants a business email at 7 o'clock.
It's the West Coast people, so it's 4 there.
Okay, okay. Hey, it's good to know that the West Coast people are actually at work and they're not calling it in early.
Well, yeah, exactly. Whoop, I was about to sneeze there, and I kind of just stopped it. But yeah. Shout out to Juneteenth. Obviously, historically, a meaningful now holiday, but a meaningful event in Black history and in United States history. And I'm glad that the word finally got out to Texas.
Did the word get out faster to Texas or throughout the rest of the United States to start celebrating it?
I think that those are the people that everybody else had already celebrated. So
yeah,
I don't think that word got back to them quick enough to say, "Hey, y'all, everybody knows now. Let's throw a barbecue."
Hey, man, let's kind of play with this a little bit. You become a free slave. You have a defined labor skill set. You may or may not know the language, and you can't read. You still can't own property. What is that feeling, right? Like, like how good is that feeling to go, I ain't got to work for this man who take advantage of me anymore for nothing. I got to come back for 5 cents a day. Like as momentous as Juneteenth is and was, and I'm not trying to downplay it at all. I just wonder what that feeling was like for those individuals who actually experienced it, knowing that they were going back to the same quarters that they were in, to work for the same person who they worked for, to be treated pretty much the same exact way for a little bit of money that they were going to end up having to pay back for their bills.
Right.
Like, hey, I'm going to pay you, but I'm going to charge you pretty much what I pay you. And dog, imagine being a slave owner, the plantation owner, not one of his do boys out there who had to go home every day to his wife, but the guy who owns the fucking plantation. And you got like 200 slaves. You're like a real deal guy. You're not like the local blacksmith who just has a gardener and a housemaid. Like you're a real deal farmer, and you're like, I gotta pay these niggas now. You know what that's gonna do to my profit margins?
Yeah, but if there's no wage scale set, and at that time they're still considered 3/5, if I'm not.
I don't remember
right
when they got rolled back.
The 3/5 compromise didn't happen until after the Emancipation Proclamation. I could be wrong. I'm almost certain that
You keep talking, I'll look it up.
I'm almost certain that did come afterwards. So that would mean that we still weren't considered, fully.
Let me see. 3/5 compromise, 1787. So it was passed in 1787, and that was so that the southern states couldn't take over the House of Representatives. So pretty much, we've been gerrymandering the entire history of this country.
Well, okay, so that was, but I'm saying, okay.
14th Amendment, 1868, superseded it. So in 1868, the 3/5 compromise was repealed.
Okay. So that's when the Emancipation Proclamation happened. So, okay. Okay. So you become a citizen / non-property, I guess, would be the answer to that. And you don't have any money. You probably got kids. You probably got kids that aren't even, if you're a Black woman, probably have some of Mass's kids. Dark days, boy, I tell you. But
yeah, man, like just It's just interesting to think about, the ancestors and what they actually did to get us here. And we'll talk about it a little bit more on the back end, but it's almost it's a slap in their face to see what they went through and how they've advanced our opportunities, but yet we want to glorify street thugs uh and felons like Lil Boosie Badass.
Well, because he's on wipe him down.
Nah, he gonna
Pants,
be in there doing the wiping down.
shoulders, chest, pants, shoes.
And that's what's gonna happen when he get in that shower, and big fella gonna say, "Wipe me down,"
And he's gonna say BOOSIEBADAZZ. That's me.
How bad is that ass, Boosie?
That nigga, he's gonna be like, "What did you just spell, nigga?" But nah, let me not take it back that far. Niggas can read and spell. These days, they should be able to.
Well, you know what? I actually
can't, but that's not being illiterate and being able to just not read at all are two totally different things.
I didn't go to inner city schools, but I think illiteracy is a choice at this point. I could be so.
Kanye saying slavery was a choice or something, man.
How are you going to public school in America and not learning how to read? Are there really schools that bad that they do not give you the fundamentals in which to learn how to read?
If so, I can't say that I'm familiar with them. I'm not familiar with them.
We need to find a friend who came from like a total shithole. Not the American fucking.
I'm trying to think. I mean, not to choose from the locker room. I'm trying to think who might have went to the worst school out of all of us.
Probably me. I went to school in rural Northwest Georgia.
Let me just think. Matt went to like a private school. I see just as private. I mean, Jew went to the same type of school you did, basically.
Yeah, but I want to say Henry. I imagine there's a bit more money in Henry County.
What's Cartersville's county?
Bartow.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was about to say that. Bartow County. So Bartow versus Henry County. Georgia ranks in the bottom, 4 or 5. I don't think I've ever seen Georgia above 45. And it's so weird because there's a lot of good schools in Georgia, high school, and of course college, right? But I know that ranking's based on high school. But
I'm in Southwest Georgia, man.
Hold on, though. I've got to think. Yeah, down there it might be a little bit different, but I'm just trying to think. Boink went to Chamblee. Good. That's a good school. That's a good DeKalb school. Yeah. Probably the best DeKalb school that you could go to.
Yeah, because he was like in a magnet program, whatever. Because
Chamblee was the best DeKalb public school you could go to, charter school.
Yeah.
Josh, I don't know where Josh went to school.
He went to a really
Memphis, but like
he went to a really large school on the outskirts of Memphis, and look at all of Josh's apartments. You really think he went to a shitty high school?
No, absolutely not. Dale probably went to a private school.
Yeah. Morehouse was military.
I don't know. JP, I think might have went.
He went to a really good school too.
He went to a good school too. Yeah. Damn, it's out of UNG. Probably.
Yeah, because we went to public school in Georgia.
I mean, I did too. I didn't graduate from one, but I went to Stevenson. Look, Stevenson's not a great school.
But either way, we can all read and read well.
Yeah, well, for sure. I mean,
but
just about everybody in the group got some sort of scholarship.
Do you know? Yeah. Do you know anybody who went to APS?
Partial. Yeah, I know people that went to APS.
I feel like those are the people to talk to about.
But see, that could be a skewed thing because Grady is APS. So it's like, and Grady's like this melting pot of the best, low key, like kind of like the best of APS, right? Like,
yeah, but because of location though, they keep this.
They're in Midtown, right? They're really in Midtown. So now it's called Midtown High School. It's not even called Grady anymore. It's Midtown High School. So, but I know some people that went there. Some people that we were in PSP with that went to Morehouse, they went to Washington. And Washington was right down the street from where I used to live.
Nobody went to Doug.
Rest in peace to Coach Brewer. No, Brewer went to Washington. I'm sorry, Doug is right down the street from me.
We played against Doug in a 7-on-7 camp at Georgia Tech.
What'd y'all do?
I think we did okay. This was my going into my sophomore year, so I was a backup. I got like 2 drives, but they had a quarterback who had a hose, really bad form, fastball every pass. If you don't pick it off, you're gonna break your finger. One of those types.
So a Vic arm.
Yeah, actually, we beat them, and their coach was pissed. And I didn't hear him say those words, but I felt it in his presence that y'all got beat by these white boys. I mean, we have black DBs,
How would you break down the percentage of your teammates? Would you say 60 white, 35 black, 5% other?
Nah, it's probably like 60, probably like 57 white, 42 black.
Y'all had the one foreign kid that was the kicker.
Bingo.
We did too. I don't know why. We had an Asian kicker, but
yeah, we were.
We had a Young Wei Koo before Young Wei Koo.
We were a bit white in the linebacking core.
That's natural though. That was kind of the thing back. You got to think about that era. Guys like Zach Thomas, Brian Urlacher, white linebackers were relevant. I mean, Ray Lewis was, of course, Ray Lewis, but like white linebackers were Dan Morgan with the Panthers, Keith Brooking with the Falcons. White linebackers were a thing in the NFL for a very long time.
Well, not anymore.
But just when you really look at the NFL's history, white linebackers are kind of synonymous with that. It was synonymous with that position.
Because the black players weren't smart enough to play linebacker to make the call.
Singletary was an outlier with the 85 Bears. You know what I mean? At that time.
Yeah, win with him.
O-line was always, for the most part, kind of white too. Like D-line, you definitely had niggas on the edge. And in the middle too, but like corner and wide receiver those are the black positions, and running back. The most athletic positions on a football field.
Yeah. We played the athletic positions, they played the thinking positions.
Well, think about it. The last we talked about this before, maybe years ago. We talked about the last white cornerback that we can remember, and we're all like Jason Sehorn. Like it's like the last white corner that you can ever remember, like legitimately being a starter in the NFL. Jason Sehorn. I
know a coach from a Division I school, non-Power 5. I know of a coach. I don't know him. But I know guys who were in his position room. He would play a lesser black safety over a white safety. White guy too. He didn't believe in white DBs.
Maybe the athleticism, not the coverage skills, but just the if he gets burnt, he might be able to catch up, like type shit. I don't know what would go into his thinking.
I'm just saying his philosophy was just pretty much like, hey, white guys don't play in the secondary.
I mean, then why do they have him there?
I didn't ask that question. It would have been a great follow-up.
And when it comes to white wide receivers,
slot,
obviously. And they got to be plucky white guys too. They have to be plucky.
Well, you got Cooper Kupp, who's not plucky, but he's a Z.
Well, Cooper Kupp, for what it's worth, people don't want to admit this. He was because he played at East Washington. Man, he holds like every fucking like college wide receiver record too. So he went in the second round for a fucking reason. He really didn't go in the first round because of where he played. He was obviously a very talented receiver. But when you think of the white wide receiver room, like Steve Largent obviously was kind of the guy, I guess, in the 80s, right? Like
got to get to the finals.
And the fact that he played for the Seahawks, places, that's such a weird team to play for. An AFC Seahawk team, like outside of that, I can't think of too many white guys. Drew Bennett played for the Titans. I remember he had one really big Monday night game. We had Brian Finneran. And Brian Finneran is like on.
We are all here to do what Falcons do.
Brian Finneran was probably, outside of Algie Crumpler, Vic's second favorite target.
Yeah.
Brian Finneran would get those yards, but no, not too many white wide receivers.
No. But
not
you know
good
what?
ones, at least.
But you know what? Another sport where there is a shortage of great white players.
The National Basketball Association.
Absolutely. But I was trying to think of something Serbian about Jokic, but I'm not going to call him the sexy Serbian.
He's Serbian.
I know, but I wasn't going to call him the sexy Serbian. I was trying to think of the Nuggets win the NBA championship. Really the best team in basketball all season.
You could throw the argument that Milwaukee was just as good, but go ahead. I'm with you. They were the best team. And they went more under the radar than anyone. I think it was.
Well, no one wanted to believe it. They thought it was, they're just a regular season team again. And Jamal Murray, okay? I talked about this last week. You know how I've been about Jamal Murray for the last few years. Jamal Murray showed up in a way that he's never showed up in his NBA career in the playoffs, especially in the finals. Yeah, I know about Bubble Murray. Yeah, but he played better in these playoffs than he played in the bubble. In the bubble, yeah, he was fiery, getting buckets. This man got 10 assists for 4 straight games for the first time in his career. Like that's different type of stuff. And that went into nobody's prediction on what would happen this season. Nobody goes, you know what? Jamal Murray is all of a sudden going to become a great distributor of the basketball.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, he averaged here's the thing. You know, we broke this down a few weeks ago. He puts up Kyrie-esque. I mean, he was giving you 5 assists. Like, his career number is like 5. It's not great. That's not for a point guard. That's not great for a point guard. But is he really a point? I mean, Jokic is the point guard, low key. Jokic is the first point, and he's not the point guard as in he's the half court point guard. How about that?
No, he's the point.
He does it full court too, but like he's a point center. He's the first of his kind, but he's the point guard.
And Nuggets win. Joker averaged roughly 32, 13, and 9.5.
Crazy.
For the playoffs.
That's crazy.
And it wasn't the Russell Westbrook triple-double either. It's not even a shot at Russ.
You're just saying every single rebound and assist and point actually mattered in the game.
Yes.
They weren't empty calorie stats.
No, and it's a credit to their front office. Man, my guy who just went to Minnesota probably should have stayed around another couple of years because you built this thing. But they had the team perfectly built around what Jokic does. And I remember hearing that Mike Malone was like, bro, we play through Jokic and Murray. You play the 1-2 game. And if you could, and like players who couldn't play that 1-2 game have slowly left, and they found players to play that game and be comfortable playing that game. And Michael Porter Jr. is too inconsistent to say anything else, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it finally has all come together and turned into winning. And we talked about this in the locker room earlier this week about Jokic being the best player in the league, and it's in the conversation with whether he's won 2 MVPs. Eye test says this, and my fallback was it hasn't turned into winning a championship. I can agree all the things he does great, right? He sees the floor like nobody else. He rewards cutters for cutting. he plays basketball the right way. Probably more so than anybody that I've watched who can also score 30 points in my adult basketball watching life.
Mm-hmm.
He plays the game the right way. LeBron plays the game very well, but LeBron does things that goes against what may be best in that situation, but it still may work because that's LeBron. But like Jokic is truly unselfish. LeBron is fucking selfish. Great, but selfish. He's like the blend of unselfish, selfish, like he wants the assist. I think Jokic wants to make the pass and get a bucket, not necessarily get the assist. But everything came together, and a credit to them. Like great front office, great coaching, great players, and they've won a championship. And there's not much I can say. Some people might want me to eat crow on this, but I'd rather be late to the crowning party than to show up too early and crown the wrong person. Like you people who want to crown Ja and Zion, and
They're unique cases. Here's the issue too with crowning too early. Like we have to wait to see. I mean, Jokic has been in the league since 2014. We're talking he's about to be coming up on year 10. This stuff really does take time. Peyton Manning, for instance, guys who can get great stats, all this stuff before they finally win. How many MVPs did Peyton Manning probably won 3 MVPs before he won his first Super Bowl? I mean, this is very rarely. Tom Brady is one of the few examples in any sport of a guy just winning like very early.
But he wasn't good.
Brady became more of, I'm the best quarterback later in his career, as opposed to when he was winning. He wasn't he was not the reason for the season. Brady would make throws, of course, but like he wasn't the reason they were winning those Super Bowls early. They had a bomb-ass defense, could run the ball, and Brady could make the throws to get in field goal position to win those games. So it wasn't like Tom was throwing for 4,000 yards and 40 touchdowns in 2005. Like, you know what I mean? He didn't start doing that until the Randy Moss year and then going further. That's when he started putting up and then they won less. I mean, obviously now he matched it eventually, but in less years. Like, you know what I mean? He did that in less years earlier. So I think that it's tough to crown anyone early in any sport, but even in basketball, Jordan, it took Jordan 7 years, right? 8 years to get that first title. It takes time. These things take time, but it doesn't mean that you can't crown a guy early enough in a sense of that guy's going to win eventually. When LeBron took the Cavs in 2007, we knew LeBron was going to win one. He was going to win one eventually. Now, we knew it probably wasn't going to be there because for whatever reason, they just could not get – probably because niggas don't want to move to Cleveland. But, Odell Beckham might be the first nigga to be open to moving there.
Well, he didn't want to move there. He got traded.
I know, but I know he didn't have to okay it, but I'm sure that he enjoyed the idea of going there at first.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
But Jokic he's also like at the age, late 20s, early 30s, when most superstars win their championship. Kobe is an anomaly. And Kobe was aided by another superstar who was in his late 20s, early 30s. This is when, again, most players lead their team to championships. So Jokic is on schedule. You go back to LeBron in 2007, he was ahead of schedule, but he went a year after D Wade, who was way ahead of schedule. But D Wade is also older.
And D Wade still played with
Shaq.
A prime Shaq.
Yes.
Shaq was still in his prime when he was in Miami. And actually, Shaq lost weight when he got to Shaq was way, that was probably the most fit Shaq had been since Orlando. You know what I mean? When you look at Shaq, if you go back and look at Shaq, or maybe his starting time with the Lakers, but that winning Shaq from 2000 to 2004, Shaq was fat as hell, but Shaq was also unstoppable. Anywhere 10 feet within 8 feet within, the rim and in the paint, Shaq nobody could guard him. Dikembe Mutombo, Alonzo Moore. It didn't matter who you put on Shaq back then because he was just far and away the best player at the position.
So, question for you: is it too early to start talking about Jokic's all-time ranking?
No, I don't think so. But it's the same thing when Giannis won. We all looked at it. Giannis was probably the most accomplished player at his age by that point. Giannis is already, think about it, before he won his NBA title, Giannis had already won 2 MVPs, a Defensive Player of the Year. He was a 5-time first team All NBA. He is like one of the most accomplished players. And that's because even though he's a European player, Giannis also was 18 when he got drafted. So he was a little bit younger, you know what I mean, than a lot of guys. Jokic was 19, I think, when he got drafted. Like, it wasn't like they were just like the guys that were coming out as freshmen.
But they weren't, though, because they were already pros.
Exactly. But that's the difference in them. And I think that certainly this is why the culmination of what we've seen the last decade and a half, really, it gets to Wemby now because he seems like the ultimate fucking one. He's already played too. He has a very rare skill set of all these guys even. He's rarer. And it appears that he could be that next guy. Jokic, he could follow in line with those guys. Luka, I guess now is next on deck in terms of the international guys that they're like, he's got to be the one that wins the title. But I think that he's an outlier in comparison to those two because those two are more team-friendly players, oddly enough. They're not as ball dominant. And when I say as ball dominant, Jokic can have a game where he doesn't have 20 points and still affects it so much to the point at where it doesn't matter that he has 20 points. Same with Giannis in a weird way. Giannis doesn't have to have his touches because if Chris Middleton can spot him 25 and Drew Holiday can spot him 25, he can have 18 and 20 and 7 assists. Like, you know what I mean? He can have that type of game and 4 blocks.
But you can say Giannis doesn't have to have his shots, but Giannis has to have his touches because you don't have to respect Giannis's shot. You got to respect the Joker's shot. So I'll disagree with you on the touches. Neither one of them has to shoot the ball to affect the game because they have so much gravity once the ball's in their hands. And Jokic has so much gravity when he's on the court because you have to account for him, whether he's a screener, a screening roller, or a shooter. You have to account for that. Where Giannis, dog, if Giannis is in the corner, beat me. I love Giannis shooting threes. But to the point that you're getting at, yeah, there's definitely a Euro takeover coming in the NBA. And honestly, American basketball deserves it. American basketball has become a terrible product. American basketball has become a coddled culture. American basketball is all about look at me, I'm getting mine. Well, what about your team winning? If you get yours all day, you know, the James Harden method. Well, sorry, let me throw Luka in there, the Luka way of playing basketball where you just dominate the ball the entire time. Well, other people can't get rhythm. Giannis is selfless. The man plays like 33, 34 minutes a game, right? Like, I pick on Giannis for not playing more. Jokic, selfless. Will make the extra pass, will do the dirty work. You know, one thing I talked about it in the group, Jokic, dirty player, great guy. And I'm not even judging him as a dirty player, but you just watch him, the grabbing, the hooking, the manipulation of his body with someone else's body, bro. He's a dirty player. But one thing that makes him a great guy was before he looked to celebrate, he went and congratulated every single Heat player before he even got his shirt, got his hat, did any of that. Yeah. And I'm happy the cameras caught it because I don't even think they were obviously following Jokic because, you know, he was going to be finals MVP, but it was just really nice to see how he did that, man. I think that speaks volumes about who he is as a person.
Come on, give me 1 second, Lee.
All right. So yeah, it was a great look to see Jokic be a class act, but here's what I'm not ready for with this whole Denver thing. I'm not really into this idea of Jamal Murray has been underrated. Jamal Murray should have been on an all-star team. Jamal Murray should have been this. Jamal Murray should have been that. Murray's been hurt for a while. Jamal Murray also has been very inconsistent. And if you check his numbers, Jamal Murray does not have all-star numbers for a career. He just doesn't. So because he doesn't have all-star numbers, he should have never made an all-star game. Now, he'll probably make an all-star game that he doesn't deserve to make next year because he's now a champion. He was the second best player on a championship team, and he played great playoff basketball. But with all of that said, he's not played all-star basketball. He's never played all NBA basketball, so he should have never, ever been on any of these teams. He hasn't been slept on. He hasn't been snubbed. He's been properly rated. Name a season when he was better than Devin Booker, Steph Curry, hell, Klay Thompson, Dame Lillard. You know, he's CJ McCollum with better PR. And now he's CJ McCollum with a ring, CJ McCollum with a better team, CJ McCollum with a better playoff run. But that's the tier that he's in. When has he been better than Darius Garland? When has he been better than Donovan Mitchell? Come on, man. The NBA is guard rich. If we want to call Jaylen Brown a guard, when has he been better than Jaylen Brown? 3-4 years ago, he wasn't better than Kyle Lowry. And I'm not even looking at East and West. I'm just looking at guards. He hasn't been better than Luka, guard. So what are we saying? I get that we like him. Have been better than James Harden. Chris Paul, maybe this year. But in the past, he hasn't been better than Chris Paul. I want to like him. I want him to see him get his just due, but we have to be honest with ourselves, and we can't just say that a guy deserves to be on an all-star game, on an all-star team, just because we like the way he's played in the playoffs. Guess what? He wasn't an all-star all season. Look at Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler didn't make the all-star team, but he made All-NBA and he made it to the finals. You know why? Because he picked up his game in the second half of the season and the playoffs. So yeah, that's what happens to you. But you didn't play like an all-star on the front half of the year. So you don't get to be an all-star. And it's okay. Russell Wilson has never deserved an MVP vote in football history. I mean, in his career. But guess what? He's a great quarterback. Now, as we wait on Parlay Pete here, right? Let's push the conversation. We're headed towards the content drought. So we got to fire off some of our hottest, wildest, craziest takes. To ensure that we can keep the conversation going, because guess what? Nobody cares about baseball talk. NFL offseason talk gets old after a while. We'll have the NBA offseason happen. After the free agency signings happen, we get some trades, all of that stuff, right? But we couldn't even let the confetti get scraped off the floor in Denver. We couldn't even wait for Aaron Gordon to take his pants off. We couldn't even wait for Nikola Jokic to go on the parade that he apparently didn't want to go to, but happy that he went to, until we started talking dynasty. I read this article about some of these habits that we have that are like unhealthy but socially acceptable, like these socially acceptable unhealthy addictions. And the 24-hour news cycle was one of them. 24-hour news cycle. And we're talking about, can the Denver Nuggets be the next dynasty? Probably not. Can they be a really good team who competes for championships over the next 4 to 6 years? They can keep their core together. They can stay healthy. Yes. Great team, great season, great chemistry, all of that. But the longer and longer they play together, the more and more money these players start to make, it changes stuff. They've got the ring now. Michael Porter Jr. may say, "Hey, I want out. I got my ring. I still got this big contract. I want to go somewhere where I can be featured." Bruce Brown may resign somewhere else. Bruce Brown was a very important role player for them. KCP has 1 year left on his deal. Some other contending team may give him an offer with a little bit more. He's with Clutch, so they get more money. So let's enjoy the parade. Let's enjoy the fact that Aaron Gordon had his shorts on for like 10 hours after the game. Let's enjoy that he was feeling the Modelo's today during the parade. Let's enjoy that Jamal Murray has played his best basketball in his life, and Joker was absolutely amazing in his playoffs and his finals before we talk about a dynasty.
Yeah, I think that dynasty is always premature, and that's the first thing anyone says after a team wins. You look at Milwaukee when they just won, and that was a talk too, because it was set up, right? It's like Chris Middleton's only 29, Giannis is 26. Drew is a little older. Drew's probably 33 now. So, you're like, oh, but, at that time, he's like 31. Brook Lopez, people forget, was an all-star caliber type player, kind of, in Brooklyn or with the Nets. And, Bud, you're like, well, Bud's a pop disciple. And then in 2 years, Bud's gone. I think that Middleton's going to be out the door. Drew's still playing at a high level. Brooks a free agent as well. And now you start talking about, are they in the Bradley Beal sweepstakes? Like, it could change so quickly. So I think that anytime anyone talks about a dynasty, it's always premature. Now, there are certain teams, right, like Miami, when they had LeBron and Wade. We knew dynasty was certainly there. Like, you know what I mean? Because you've got 2 of the 3 best players in the league at the time. So, that is when dynasty should be talked about. Shaq and Kobe, when they're first time. Oh, they've got 2 of the 3 best players in the league. You know what I mean? I don't think that Jamal Murray is one of the 2 of the 3 best players in the league. Jamal Murray isn't a top 5 player at his position, if we want to keep it 100. But Jamal Murray is a top 30 player in the league.
Sure.
And even though he hasn't made an all-star team, he's been hurt. So, that could kind of play into. He's only 26. He's not old. But it's too early to say that. And Michael Porter, aside from Game 5, didn't show up. And he's a good player, too. I think he's an all-star caliber player on a different team. I just think it's too early to talk about it. Mike Malone, I think, has his system in place. And then health is always a major concern with any team. And this is a team that got all the right ingredients this year, but they have injury history. Michael Porter has an injury history. Jamal Murray has an injury history. Jokic is about the only one that we know is going to stay on the floor. And a lot of those role players, whether that's free agency they leave or Jeff Green was a big part of it. He's old. So it's early to start talking dynasty with a team like that. I think that they should come into next year until we see what happens in free agency. They should be the favorite, though. They are starting 5-wise. They've got the best starting 5 in the NBA. But, it depends on so many different factors.
Question for you. Do you think, how they put in that second floor shit in the CBA, which is pretty much being used as a hard cap? Do you think Kroenke, who doesn't
that to break up the Warriors? I mean, that's to me what that was really all about.
Do you think that Kroenke actually spins over?
I mean, he got them. I mean, now here's the thing. He done won everywhere now. So, how much does he care about that? Because now he's already accomplished everything. He's won with all his teams. So, there's no.
Well, his other team hasn't won yet.
Which one?
Denver.
Denver who?
Broncos.
He doesn't own the Broncos. He owns the Rams.
No, his wife's family owns the Broncos.
No, that ain't him. He owns the Rams. He owns the Rams. He owns the Colorado Avalanche. And he owns the Denver Nuggets. All 3 of them have just won titles in the last 700 days.
Is Stan Kroenke the best owner in sports? Or
he's the most I don't give a fuck owner in sports because
I think he does give a fuck. I think
I tell you what, he knows how to. Yes, he's the best at hiring and sticking with what. Because Les Snead's been in L.A. for a minute. I mean, because they got him from us. So,
yeah, you know where he left, right?
Yeah, he came from us.
Yeah. We prefer Rich McKay and Thomas Dimitrov and Terry. I don't know over Les Snead, the guy who can play with the cap. Like, oh golly, I can't even keep going there.
Hey,
like
he also said, "Fuck them picks." And I mean, look, they got Stet. I mean, depending on how that's going to work, look, they got the Super Bowl that they wanted when they said, "Fuck them picks." But Aaron Donald could retire any minute now.
Matthew Stafford might be retired.
He's done, right? And then Odell's not even there. So, and Von Miller's gone too. So they got what they wanted. But that's all I'm saying.
I listened to Cowherd talk about them. He thinks the Rams are going to be really good next year. I think they're going to fucking suck. But this isn't
suck. I don't think they're going to suck. I think the defense is still kind of in place. And granted, they still have Raheem. Remember, Raheem is the DC, and he's still hungry for another job too. I don't think the defense is going to suck. The question is
that was just a comment. That's not a conversation.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying.
I know. We got to stay in basketball.
Well, football is always on my mind.
I know. We got to.
They might sign Zeke Elliott. Here, I'm done. They might sign Zeke Elliott. Just go ahead.
All right. So, question for you: Jimmy Butler had an impressive playoff run that ended in finals disappointment. Not only with his team not winning, but his performance on the court. He didn't look like himself. He was turning down shots that he would normally take. He had a terrible turnover at the end of the game. Mm-hmm. He took an ill-advised three with about 14 seconds left, And I think that the Jimmy Butler conversation, for one, is a bad one because he's so difficult to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Because he has the moments like he did where he just gutted the Bucks franchise and fired Bud himself. Then he goes up 3-0 on the Celtics, and then the Celtics come back, but then they win decisively. And then he has the moment like he does in Game 5 where he goes for 11 straight points. So I think because the pendulum on Jimmy's game swings so far and wide, so does the commentary. But I kind of want to narrow it down to Jimmy's really good. Jimmy is great.
Who can we compare him to previously in the NBA?
I don't know who to compare him to. I know that he gets to go to the adult table, but he sits at the end. Like,
okay.
LeBron can't hear him when he talks. You know what I mean?
Well, they don't allow him to speak. They're saying you should be happy that you're getting to eat with the big kids. Right.
Like CP3 is closer to the head of the table, but not because he actually belongs there, just because they like him so much and he's been good consistently. You know what I mean? Like,
but he's not even comparable, at least from an accomplishment sample. He's more accomplished than Jimmy, but like, I don't know. You could go a lot of different ways with this stuff.
Like, he definitely has a better seat than Russell Westbrook. I'm not talking about current players. Yeah,
I can't agree with you on that.
I take
that all NBA team. I'm sorry, I can't do that.
You're right.
But I'm thinking more further past. I'm thinking like
who has a better seat?
Not a fair player to compare, but this is somebody that I know that played the same position that went to 2 NBA finals and lost themselves, and they were the clear leader of their team. Clyde Drexler, right? And we didn't watch Clyde Drexler, but Clyde Drexler also did take the Blazers to 2 NBA finals, right? He's a shooting guard. He's a Hall of Famer. He was a high flyer. And I'm not trying to compare him from the statistical, maybe even, but Clyde Drexler probably was about like Jimmy Butler on points, 22 a game, 23 a game. Like, it wasn't like he could go for 30, 40, right? But like, I'm just trying to think if there's someone in recent NBA history, not within the last 10 years necessarily, but just further beyond that, Jimmy can kind of fall under that mold of we're going to view this guy like this if all stays pat with him and he doesn't win a title, but he went to a multiple and was always an all-star kind of player.
Well, here's my only pushback on the Jimmy Clyde, because I think a lot of it is
Michael Redd didn't go to anything. They're not comparable. Jimmy's better than Michael Redd.
I like the Jimmy Clyde comparison. The only difference, though, is I think that Clyde had higher expectations and ultimately didn't meet those expectations because, he rivaled himself against Jordan, whereas Jimmy has lower expectations and he's exceeded his expectations. So that's where Jimmy becomes very difficult to classify because, again, dog, like you say, hey, they were running it at UCLA. They were playing one-on-one or at Olympics, right? And Jimmy ran the whole Olympics team and won in one-on-one. You go, I wouldn't have picked him, but am I totally shocked that Jimmy just went off?
No.
But if we got KD, Book, Harden, Bam.
You want to know where I put Jimmy? I tell you what, let's go through this. The guys you put him ahead of in the league that I think a lot of people had him behind. Like Paul George. I think Jimmy Butler's ahead of Paul George, obviously because he's went to 2 finals and being the leader on the team. But at this point, even though I think that Paul George is has just more talented,
I think Paul George is better.
I can't put Paul George ahead of him in the pecking order anymore.
I think that Paul George is a better basketball player than Jimmy Butler, but I'd rather have Jimmy Butler on my team.
Exactly. So, but I'm just saying, when I'm just thinking of players that are like, you were always like, he's better than Jimmy Butler. Now it's like, yeah, he's better than him if they played a game of one-on-one and we had to put our money on it. But if we had to pick a guy to build a team around, we're going to choose Jimmy before we chose Paul George.
Well, and even if Dame comes down there.
Oh, no. Well, see, the Dame's a better player. Like, even still.
You didn't even let me make a point. You don't even know what my point was going to be. You don't even know my point. Dame is going to be the better player. Dame is going to be
75 team already.
Dame is going to be your crunch time guy. But it's still going to be Jimmy's team.
I think it looks like the LeBron Wade thing at that point, in a sense of LeBron came and it was like still Wade's team, but like nigga, I tell you what, when they won that championship, it was LeBron's team. And LeBron was a better player than D Wade even when he got there, but we knew that it was Wade's team.
But after that first year, D Wade wasn't as good anymore.
He wasn't as good anymore.
And Bron got better.
Bron did get better, but at the same time, look, LeBron James averaged 17 points a game in the NBA Finals. All right. And I'm not trying to put a chink in this nigga's armor. It ain't like that. But it's a fact, bro. It's a fact, just like all the other stuff anyone else could say about LeBron that's positive about him.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is he still averaged 17 points a game, like when was the worst time for him to average 17 points a game. It followed the narrative of what we thought about him, just not good enough to get it done. Type, like in the biggest of moments, he can't do it. That was. And as crazy as it sounds, I think that him becoming a villain in the NBA and facing that backlash as a player after that was the best thing that could have happened to his career, because he already didn't necessarily have to, answer to anyone about anything regardless, even though he hadn't won. That's so small. That's why he made the comment that he made. I'm going to enjoy my family and everybody can go back and live in the life that they live. Like, that shit, bro, he needed that letdown in himself. He let himself down. Yeah. All the other years, he didn't really let himself down. Bro.
All those other years, like now that, like, we're not going to spend too much time on LeBron here.
Dad,
but
some chips though, like Lay's, I guess. I don't know. Just grab a bag of chips.
All those other years, LeBron got beat by better teams. I'm so, like, I know they may have had a better regular season record.
He had already beaten Detroit. Was Orlando really? I guess Orlando was better than them.
No. If you go back through the game log, so during the pandemic when we had no content, Simmons and Russillo, they broke down the Lakers Orlando series, and what Lakers won in 5.
Yeah, but they were going to.
Yeah, but there were. If you look at it, like when they broke down those games were like the Lakers. Like the Lakers Denver series. How the Lakers got swept, but those games were close games until something happened. Those Orlando games with the Lakers were a lot closer than the series score. Like that 4-1.
That's fair.
Looks way worse.
There was one game we know, the Courtney Lee layup game.
Right.
That game, the Lakers could have lost at home. I think that was game 2. They could have easily went 1-1 back to Orlando.
And all of that changes.
He didn't miss the layup, right? He got it, and he didn't get it off in time.
Something happened with a Courtney Lee layup that fucked.
He either missed it or he didn't get it off in time.
Yeah,
it's wide open is what it was.
Right. So when you like start looking like game to game, it's one of those things that just gets weird. So the only thing that's in it that's unacceptable for LeBron is 2011. But question for you as we close out this first hour. I heard on a nationally syndicated show from a co-host, a B Mike, who more gets the work of a C Mike. Heat culture is a failure because they haven't won a championship since LeBron left.
That's so stupid. That's stupid. It's one of the dumbest things that I didn't get to hear it. I know you got to hear it. I didn't get to hear it, but you've obviously told me about it. And my thing is this. We broke it down in pre-production. How many? Okay, LeBron leaves. He goes back home. He goes to Cleveland. He goes to every NBA Finals until he goes to LA. So
15.
There's your reason for why Miami didn't make it.
17, 18.
And not to mention, because now they're just talking in general. They didn't have they had Wade still and Bosh. Bosh pretty much his career ended almost immediately after that. Wade was a shell of himself. He could still give you 17, 18, but Wade was done. Wade left. Yep, and then he left. Right. Then he went to Chicago.
In Cleveland.
So that happened. Bosh was injured. They're one of the worst teams in the league, kind of. Or they're a competitive bad team. How about that?
Yeah, Hassan Whiteside.
Yeah. Got him paid. But so you have that era of that team. Then you sign Jimmy. You pretty much are. When did Jimmy get there? Did he get there at 19?
No, 20, because 19 was
his first year they went to the NBA Finals.
Yes.
And granted, it was a bubble finals, but they still went at the end of the day. History, we can put an asterisk by, but like they still went and they still had to beat the Bucks. Like they still beat all these important teams to do it. So yeah, we didn't get a traditional regular season ending or playoff period, but we still got them in the NBA Finals. It's just a dumbass comment, and
it was so stupid because it's trying to talk about them not winning a championship, and part of winning a championship is having a top 5 player in the league on your team.
And they don't.
Jimmy's
not a top 5 player.
He's not top 5. Now, if you go Jimmy and Dame and they're getting rid of Duncan and Hero and they can still replace them with like some other random shooters, I go, yeah, I can see them winning a championship, especially with this new CBA. We're going to have to adjust our eyes to what a championship team looks like because like just with the Big 3 era, right? We had to change the way we viewed a championship team. Well, now with this new CBA, we have to change our eyes to what a new championship team looks like because teams are going to be constructed differently. And not to mention the fact that Denver couldn't shoot threes to save their fucking lives. And they were built around a point center that they're not going to look the same as other champions. And other teams are going to build their team to stop Denver, which then means the other champions will start to look different, you know? Yeah. So the league is going to go through a change. So back to them being a dynasty, projecting out what that dynasty is just crazy because the league is about to have a paradigm shift. But we don't believe that Heat culture is dead. You want to put a bow on the finals as we close out hour one?
Yeah, I think that you kind of said it earlier, but Denver was the best team in the league this year, and it's not because they just hoisted the trophy, but because they really were just the best team in the league throughout the year. They were most consistent. I know that New Orleans, obviously, at one point with Zion, they were the 1 seed, I think, on January 1st or something like that. But Denver was probably a half game behind them when that even happened. Like, Denver was so consistent all year to where it shouldn't have surprised anyone. They were great at home, just like they were great at home in the playoffs with only 1 loss. They were the best team in the league. And great teams, unlike the Boston Celtics, they win games at home in the playoffs. And that's the reason why you get the number 1 seed. You win more games than anyone, and you proceed to win at home, and that's what they did. And they had the best player in the league this year, and for what it's worth, kind of the best last 3 years total, if you want to be technical about it. It just got validated finally.
Yeah, he finally validated.
That'd be like somebody saying, Jeff Bezos wrote me a check for $1 billion. And you have the check, and it's clearly out of Jeff's checkbook, but there was no signature on it. Jokic finally put the signature on it.
Hey,
AKA Jeff finally put his signature on it. And then it's like, well, now it's cashable. Now we can actually cash it. Even though it's money, and we know that this is a real check, and it really did come from him, there was no signature on it, so we can't cash it yet. Now it's cashed.
That's a great bow to put on hour one, Parlay Pete. All right, man, let's get to hour 2 here.
Pride Month.
Yeah, man, and shout out.
Get used to it.
And shout out to the Pride festivities in Washington, D.C. It seemed to be amazing. It was a great turnout. Seemed like everyone there was having fun. Leopard thong, Speedos, rainbow flags.
Dwayne Wade fishnet shirts.
Boy, D Wade, you done started something, man, because your courtside, your court
is the one that we need to be giving the credit to. In my
problem,
AFC
honestly, like aside from our asshole jokes, like being serious, like the D Wade, the Wade family fishnet was like a big thing out there.
Big hit.
Like, I mean, you saw it during the day when it was like casual, but also at night when it was sexy time.
Well, right, because it was hot. For anyone that doesn't, or maybe there could be, we might have some listeners outside of the country or geographically don't know kind of what, weather we're in, but it's summertime in the United States. So during the day, it's, typically on the East Coast, at least, it's going to be about 80 degrees, 82, something like that. And mid-Atlantic, we're close to the water. So at night, maybe it's about 67, 65, but it's cool enough to still wear that. And, they showed out, man. They represented. They represented.
They did, and honestly, from where we sat, it was a safe space. There wasn't like any nonsense going on. Like there
was no January 6th activity, and we're right in the same area where that stuff was going on.
And like the bars were kind of mixed. Like as we were transitioning from dinner to going out for the night, it's like, oh, you see one bar with a flag on it, and you see one kind of party, and then you see a bar with no flag on it, you see another kind of party.
Well, there was a nice little mix, diversity. There were members of the Pride community mixed in with members that maybe aren't a member of the Pride community, but maybe they're supporters or sympathizers, or not at all. We could all be cohesive and be normal people together.
And I think that's the beauty of it, man, of, hey, we live different lives and people have told us that our lives aren't supposed to mix. It's just like, no, we can mix our lives, just not in the bedroom.
Exactly. And that's why Juneteenth can exist as a holiday. We can all celebrate it, It's worth celebrating. It means something to this country.
Here's a problem, and we're going to get back to basketball shortly. We have publicized far too much of our lives to the point that we can disagree about things that don't even matter to our relationship and damage a potential relationship.
Yep.
Like when that Joe Biden post got sent to the group about his feelings on gay marriage in 08, right? President Biden. Most Americans felt that way in 2008. Most Americans feel the complete opposite in 2023.
There's a bigger picture to it.
Yeah, like, you know what?
I don't agree with this because obviously I'm not this, but I also don't have a problem with this. So why am I even making such a big fuss about something that doesn't really have anything to do with me? And they just want to be as normal as everybody else.
They want to be treated normally, not because they're normal.
Right, they are normal.
I know what you meant. We got to watch our words, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, on a serious note, it's like, hold on. People really had strong opinions about gay people, like, not getting married. Like, what does it do to your marriage? You still married to your wife? Yeah, okay, cool. Keep it pushing. Anyways, so as we put a bow on the finals, right? We got a few other things we want to talk about. Do you want to talk about Doc on Embiid, or you want to like pass that by because it was just a little short, breezy topic?
We can pass it by. I mean, like we can
long story
on it. Yeah.
Yeah, like long story short, right? Doc talked with Bill Simmons, and he talked about the finals. They broke down the finals, and he discussed coaching Embiid and coaching James Harden. And he said some honest things about the experience. Nothing was salacious. Nothing was out of line. He talked about Embiid, like, hey, he needs to get healthy. Like, he needs to be healthy in the playoffs. He hasn't been healthy in the playoffs. Hey, the culture the tanking, losing culture that was here before I got here, I was brought here to clean that up and create a winning culture. Yep. And with some of that culture, Joe was used to not playing when he didn't feel right. And it's like, hey, no, we need you out here. You need to play through this. And that's one of the lines that got taken and ran with. But I think the line that the people should have focused on was about Joel and his teammates. Like, Doc said something about, hey, man, hang out with the guys. Be part of the team. It's like, we're going to just look past this whole thing of him pretty much saying, like, this nigga's a bad teammate. He don't rock with the team. And
keep going.
I'm not saying that you have to be best friends with the team. You have to be best friends with all of your coworkers. But I will say that it helps a hell of a lot, especially in a team sport, when you and the guys that you are playing with spend time together. You look back on the 08 Celtics. Glenn Big Baby Davis, rookie on that team. When he came to Orlando, they were trying to, make a finals push, championship push. He talked about, like, apparently he went off one day like, bro, y'all don't want to win. Y'all don't know how to win. Because, like, they didn't give out Christmas gifts. They didn't do team dinners and stuff. And that whole bonding, getting away from the court, getting away from the office, it's super valuable in team building. I think it's one of the most important things you can do for your team is spend time together. Get away from the everyday distractions. Get away from the everyday routine. Go to dinner. Go bowling. Go to Topgolf. Play games. It was very insightful what Doc Rivers had to say. He's talking about joining the media next year, which means he's in negotiations right now. We're hoping that TNT makes that phone call and they give Reggie the boot. I don't need to hear Reggie in the playoffs again. And we get Doc Rivers next to Kevin Harlan on that A team. Sorry, Van Gundy. We like you, but now we need to get Doc Rivers on that A team for TNT. Because I just hope it doesn't go to ESPN. I root against ESPN. Because I don't like their basketball coverage. That kind of closes that piece out, honestly. Last thing I hit was the possibility, like Doc talked about wanting to get back on the road and call games.
I think that everybody would be welcome to it. I mean, he obviously has the experience and did it prior to becoming a coach. And I don't foresee him obviously he's not getting a job this year, unless some unforeseen fire happens and they offer him, but he's not going to get a job, and he's certainly not the type of guy to go and be an assistant for anyone. So,
or the type of guy to sit at home all year with his wife.
Because the kids are grown, obviously. One being married, the other being his son that plays in the league. I don't know if he has more kids than that, but I know that those are two of them for sure. Because one's married to Seth Curry, right? And then, of course, there's
Austin
Reeves, right? Rivers, who I was about to say, don't let me compare him to that honk.
That honky tonk, but donkey donk.
Yeah.
But I think Doc Rivers needs to be on TV. Maybe he can go to TNT. No Reggie Miller.
Mm-hmm.
They've already got rid of C-Web. We just slide Reggie out of there.
Well, TNT, I think or was he with NBC? I don't know who he was with first. I thought it was TNT that he was with, anyways.
I don't know. I just hope they bring it in.
Plus, I have to imagine Doc probably lives in Massachusetts, right? I think he said that in the interview. But Doc probably got a spot here because he played here for so long. It makes a ton of sense. Or he could certainly move back if he wanted to.
I mean, Kenny flies from. Well, no, if he's
him and Chuck.
Well, if he's on
they're on the road anyways. True.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter where he lives.
Well, what if they wanted to make him in studio? I know they wouldn't make a 5-man panel, but
he doesn't want to do studio. He say he doesn't like studio. He'd rather be calling games on the road. Think about it. This man's been coaching
where he gets the East Coast games. He does the 7:00 calls, never the 10:00 games.
Think about this. He's been coaching for over 20 years. Then he had his career. Why in the hell would Doc want to be in studio? This has been his life since graduated from college. So I think he's going to travel. You want to talk about Zion for Scoot, or we can push that because nothing's probably going to happen?
I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, we can breeze over that too. I think that the idea that they would because what type of trade would that be? Just a straight up deal? We're going to trade Zion for the number 2 pick in the draft. That would be the only way to ensure that you get him, because you don't know what.
Well, they're thinking number 3, the Pelicans. I mean, to
the basketball fit wise, Brandon Miller makes more sense. But I think that in that situation too, I brought up a trade to you to where if Dame is going to stay, it makes so much sense to make a 3-team deal where Jaylen Brown gets sent to Portland. He gets paired with Dame. Portland trades Anthony Simons and the 3 to Charlotte. That way Charlotte's got the 2 and the 3 and Anthony Simons. And then LaMelo Ball gets sent to Boston, and it kind of hits.
Yeah, I mean,
because think about it, LaMelo hasn't gotten his deal yet, so you immediately go back under that, and LaMelo won't be eligible for the contract that Jaylen is.
It's not going to happen.
Years of service in the league.
Just give me your thoughts on the number 3 pick to New Orleans for Zion and however they make the dollars work. So Scoot goes to play next to C.J. McCollum and Brandon Ingram.
It sounds like a continuous rebuild unless you think that Scoot Henderson's a guy that comes into the league and drops 25 a game starting out.
I think he comes in and drops 22.
But how much better does that make the Pelicans in the West? I mean, where does that improve them in the standings? Are they still fringe play-in?
There are
7, 8 seed, or do they catapult to a 5? I mean, where do you go with that? With Zion, your ceiling, because we know how good Zion is when he's healthy, your ceiling is so much higher.
No. You can't say when Zion's healthy. That's not.
I have to, because that's the only thing I can go off. I know what he is, but like I said, he's played more games in 3 years than Joel Embiid did. So
but you know what he is, and what he is not healthy.
That's true.
And poorly dressed, and a terrible John.
Is he a terrible John?
Oh God, yeah, he's hemorrhaging.
Opinionated.
Allegedly, he's giving her $107,000 a month.
But he also tweeted at her, "Lose my number, you slut." Basically, is what he said. I mean, so,
bro. Hey, Parlay P, you got Zion money, right? Do you think you need to spend $107,000 a month to maintain your women that you may pay for if that's the decision you choose to make in life?
No. That's way too much.
Like
that sounds like he's tricking. That doesn't sound like he's a terrible John. It just sounds like he's a trick. I mean, an awful trick, though, a stupid trick. Young trick. He's a young trick. How old is Don's probably 22,
23. Yeah.
Come on, man.
I mean, I get you the young trick, but come on, dog. Like, why are you giving it to her?
Hey, here's the issue. Who the fuck is in that locker room? Because Jonas Valanciunas is not his vet. So who's the vet in that locker room? There ain't no vet, low key, in New Orleans. JJ Redick could have been kind of that vet, like for 1 year, but like, who's his vet, bro? He needed. You want to know what? I hate to say it, as bad as he looks today, a guy like Paul Pierce really could have helped, like Zion.
Oh yeah. You
know what I mean? Like a guy like Paul Pierce could have mentored the shit out of Zion.
Because he would have told him, like, hey, bro, you don't get away from the famous ones, bro. You want to find the ones who want to come up, bro.
And they want you anyway. They even if they don't think you attractive, nigga, they love your money regardless.
Yeah, and you ain't always got to pay them either. You just, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I got you next time. My bad. You know what I mean? I forgot. Oh, you just booked a flight and just say, here, throw in first class. It's $1,500. But I'll tell you one thing about this Zion stuff while we're here for a hot second. Listening to the white media talk about it, they just get it so fucked up, right? They go, you got to get them out of that port city, New Orleans. There's so many distractions down there. And I'm like, do y'all think she's in New Orleans on her own?
No.
He found her DMs and got her to New Orleans. Yep. The work he had, he got to New Orleans. There's this misconception, like New Orleans.
Just send them to Charlotte if they were to make that deal.
Right. Like there's a misconception that New Orleans is this town crawling with women that athletes want. No, if you're there, you will take what's there. Because I mean, it's some work down there. Don't get me wrong. It's not DC. But
hey, you gotta be our official whipping boy for anything bad. I mean, the Commanders suck. Their stadium, they have the worst stadium in the NFL.
The women
ownership is still the ownership, so that's bad. The Wizards are a mid organization. Just when the Nationals fucking suck. I mean,
look,
I'm not a big fan of the presidency in there right now. I mean, there's a lot of things wrong with Washington.
And look here, they said you send him up to Portland, less distractions, get him away from his friends. They go
weirdos up there.
Like, bro, he has $100 million shoe contract, $100 million basketball contract. His friends and his work, his women, will be where he wants them.
Right, and people forget too. He goes to Portland. Portland's a weird city from mine. I've never been, but. Weird city from my understanding. He's closer to Phil Knight, which I don't know what that would do, but isn't that weird that Dame is in?
Maybe Phil would teach him the game. Maybe Phil would teach him the game.
Isn't that weird that Dame is an Adidas athlete playing in Portland?
Yeah, it actually is.
Then just when you kind of, I don't know, that just came to my mind. I'm like, So they got all this Nike stuff around, and then there's like Dame, but like he's wearing Adidas and shit.
Bigger bag.
Yeah, well. I'm just surprised they wouldn't have made an offer to him.
Karl Anthony Towns has lost his shit.
Did he ever have it together to begin with? In reality, I mean, you've seen probably all those videos of him switching his voice up. I mean, he's clearly an actor anyways. Like, he is. You've seen the videos of him like sounding like 4 different ways in interviews, podcasts, fucking, just casual talking or whatever, and it gets caught on camera.
I mean, like Cat might be the best quote in the league. He said it was special what we did in Minnesota. It was more special what we did in Minnesota. So he's saying them winning a play-in and getting their ass kicked in the first round of the playoffs by Memphis was more special than Joker winning a championship.
He could have. All he really had to do was say, well, hey, we won just as many games as Miami. And I would have taken maybe some respect from what he was trying to take from that. Granted, that's not a championship series, but it is a playoff series. But, yeah, he's off the shit. And here's the thing. Pat Bev's the one that was hyping that shit up by saying, I think when they asked him something, I forgot exactly what the question was because I didn't see the interview itself, but just, the headline that blew.
I'm not going to watch it.
ESPN, what those guys put up. And it was basically just them saying, yeah, like Cat, like he said something about Cat was going to be maybe the best big. He said something to that effect.
Yeah.
About, who you going to be surprised at when it comes to the end, who's going to be really good.
Well, he said when his career's all said and done that he changed the game. He wants people to say that he changed the game, or he's going to like change the game. Like, bro, you're not the first 7-footer who could shoot.
Does KD follow that account?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, bro. Easy money sniper, bro. He ain't talking about the jumper, man.
Hey, you realize how I don't follow KD, so I wouldn't have known. But you realize how I threw that. But nobody responded to it when I sent it in there earlier.
I was at work and had no service.
1,600 followers. But like, so I know I've talked to this person before. So that's why I sent it in there. But yeah, I know, right? But I sent it in there because I'm like, I wanted to hear what y'all had to say. And then you say KD followed her. And it's like, okay. So now it kind of makes sense.
See, Zion, you know what? Zion needs to spend the summer with KD. Because I follow KD, like I see, like where this girl got 1,600 followers, man. Come on now.
And I'm able to find it like that.
Yeah. I mean, easy money sniper. Stop being big fat Zion to be an easy money sniper. Easy money, not all the money. You shooting a machine gun when you should just be shooting a little pistol with a silencer, man. You don't
even need a fucking pistol, bro. Just go up there and I don't know, smack them. The fuck, like you know what I mean?
You ain't gotta do all that work, bro. Do you care about Brad Beal possibly being on the move? New front office.
If he doesn't go to Milwaukee, I don't think, even if he went to Miami, because I know that those are the two hot teams, and I think the Knicks feel like just the team that's going to make the play. I don't know why. I just feel like the Knicks are going to get rid of RJ Barrett and somehow package a deal to get him. I think that makes the most sense, like for his brand as a player. Because okay, let's say this much. Bradley Beal was a guy that just for like 2 prior seasons ago was averaging 30 a game. He made like the All-NBA third team. He's 29. He's my year. And so like, I think he's going to turn 30 this year, but like
he's 30.
He's like 4 or 5 more like good years of basketball if he's healthy. But once again, we're getting back to this if he's healthy type thing. Like he's an injury-prone player. They broke it down. I think it was, if it wasn't Bill Simmons, then it was Barnwell. It was somebody that broke it down. And they went through his numbers of games played, and like it was like 55, 61, 42. Like it was like anything not above 65 games, essentially. Including not to mention losing and having top 3 money. Like, so it's like his contract's a bad contract anyways.
Including contracts. Brad Beal or Dame Lillard if you're Miami.
Dame. Because Dame wants to, I'm not saying that Bradley Beal doesn't want to win, but like Dame wants, I can tell Dame has the fire and desire to win. Plus, Dame also has came close to doing that. Like Dame took Portland to the West Finals that one year. They got swept by Golden State, but they weren't going to beat
KD.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't going to beat that team, but hey, they made it. They beat Denver, I think, to get there.
Hey, I got a drought season topic for you.
Let's hear it.
The AR1s.
I saw when you put that in the show topics. I mean, hey, I ain't mad.
I'm not mad at him either.
Is the best white player in the NBA. Market yourself as such.
You think he's the best white American player in the NBA?
Name me a better one. Kevin Love would be the only other one that could even compete.
Tyler Hero? 6th man of the year?
He has a rap song named after him, but like That's about where the buck stops with him. I mean, look, good player. I think Tyler Hero is good, but come on now. Austin Reeves, he's in.
Austin Reeves got game.
He's in. And he's in. He's in. He's in. LeBron James is saying, you do it.
So let me tell you something, guys.
That LeBron cosign's crazy.
Yeah, ask KCP.
Ask fuck that. Ask Tristan Thompson when he got his deal with the cat. Like that, and somehow found himself not playing all season, but guarding Jokic in a must-win game in crunch time for the Lakers this season.
And come to find out,
means something.
And come to find out, he probably should have been playing all series.
They might have won a game or two at least.
So it's drought season. Now it's Juneteenth. It's Pride Month, but it's also drought season. So there are going to be a lot of terrible sports takes because we got to keep the water on. We got to keep the lights on. You know, we got to keep the grass.
At least until we get some more guests.
I'm just talking about in sports life. Yeah, we're going to talk about guests. That guest from DC.
Pee-wee.
Yeah. Now that we're done with the finals, we'll probably talk about when we want to work that in soon. Because, bro, I wish we could have recorded that conversation. Like, even the walkout would have been amazing, you know?
A little viral moment?
Yes, but not in, like, the thirsty looking for the viral moment. It was just, the conversation was so reflective of our society, right? Because you're moderately conservative. I'm moderately conservative. I'm moderate. You're probably we're pretty much aligned politically.
I think that people get in the way of the fact that I put my business
first.
Yeah, like
yeah.
I have morals too. I'm a person too, right?
Yeah,
I am a person. I'm not a machine. I'm not look. Jay-Z said, "I'm not a businessman. I'm a business man."
Yeah,
like.
So let me handle my business. Damn.
Like. I just do what's best for the company because until I'm in a position of, I have power within my company, but until I have.
You don't have to explain yourself.
Yeah.
Let me frame the conversation, right? Julian Turner is moderate until you get to the black agenda, and then he's a fucking radical Josh Holsey lip.
Raging.
But it's all centered behind elevation of black people, so it's hard to put it in a certain box, right? So he's not a raging lib by no means. Like if black people were treated
ass nigga is
right, but if we were treated,
and we're more on the Booker T. Washington side of things,
right? So then you had it was us three, then it was Kiwi was with us.
Yes, so was Jackie.
Jackie was with us. That other girl,
a little bit more. Girl, even with the Trump thing that came up, Jackie sided with that because that was the first thing that Nadia looks at me because that's how the conversation gets kicked off. And well, we were talking about like horoscopes or whatever, and how you can judge a person. I'm like, well, what does that have to do with anything? Like, I might be the nicest person in the world, but then if I say, well, I voted for Donald Trump, now it's an issue. Now you don't know who I am. Like, so.
But the conversation was so amazing because the conservative hats in the room, while agreeing on some things, disagreeing on other things, they're having a conversation. Then the raging lib hears something she doesn't like and gets up and runs out. And generationally, that's an issue that exists. And I think on the liberal side of the house, that is an issue that exists. The fact that when you hear something that you don't like, you are now offended, so you flee the conversation. Well, you know what? I'll never know what you actually like and how to meet you halfway if you won't sit here and talk with me and be a little uncomfortable for a little while so that we can work through this discomfort to get to a place of comfort, right? We're both parents, which means that we both coexist with another human being. And at times we've lived with human being, right? I live with my wife now.
Yep.
There are hard conversations when you live with somebody. And you can go for a drive, you can go to the bar, you can go hang out with your friends, but you got to come back home. And more times than not, you're going to lay in bed next to that person.
Yep.
and you're not going to cuddle up that night. You're going to be back to back.
Yep.
Which me and my wife, we sleep back to back every night, but we feet cuddle.
Hey,
but
which direction you like facing?
Right, but like that's all it is. And if there's beef in the house, oh well, we don't feet cuddle. And then you got to wake up in the morning. How long are we gonna let this tension last? Are we gonna take it to work? Well, we got to come home. You know what I mean? So like, I think if people more so look at debates the same way you look at like kind of your family type debates or your real friend type debates, you actually understand people a lot better, and we'll get closer to the center and start having a more united America if we just talk.
Well, it's like anything else, and I get it. Nobody wants to compare hot dogs to oranges because it's political versus us talking about food, right? But just because I don't like a movie that you like doesn't mean that I don't like you or that we can't coexist and you watch the movie by yourself and I fucking leave because I hate the movie, or, oh, I don't want to eat at this restaurant because they give bad service or the food is always fucked up, like, or whatever. I'm not going to be mad at you if you don't want to eat McDonald's. Like, I mean, there's like little stuff that we always disagree about because that's what makes us who we are. That's our individual makeup, is the things that we like, the things that we like to do, the things we agree with, the things that we disagree with. That's what makes us us, right?
And when we come together, we balance it out.
Exactly. And that's okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like the PETA people of the world, you can be PETA and you don't have to say a word when I'm eating my hamburger. Like, you know what I mean? Like that doesn't mean that you don't disagree with me eating that hamburger. And just like I could say vegan, like our fucking ancestors, how the fuck you think they got here just eating just that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't disagree with that. Like, you know what I mean? I might not do it. That ain't the lifestyle I chose to live, but it doesn't mean that we can't coexist and eat at the same restaurant just because of it. Like, it's like, you pig. Why are you eating pig? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
it comes from a place of stop judging, learn to disagree and understand. Like that's what it all boils down to.
Disagree at the bare minimum.
Yes. Like, dog, we are in a locker room of like 10 dudes. We disagree all the time.
Yep.
Sometimes we debate. Some topics, you just don't take the bait and you just ignore it. And maybe Josh Holsey's bored.
Well, we know Josh Holsey's always bored.
All right, so we got a little bit of NFL, I guess, that we can kind of talk about. I don't really care about the Stephon Diggs thing because it's a nothing burger. I don't really care about DeAndre Hopkins until he signs. I don't really care about Dalvin Cook until he signs. But I do care about an NFL player who allegedly lost $8 million betting. I'm curious to who it is. I'm curious to if this player will be outed. And if he's going to be outed, you know what? I don't think he's going to be outed. I think he's a big fish because unlike the NBA, the NFL adequately pays most of their players based upon what they do, what they can do in the salary cap. Not a lot of overpaid players in the NFL. So if somebody has $8 million to bet, they're probably a big fish, or they sell drugs like Jonathan Babin.
Well, very big fish.
Yeah.
Well, and at that point, they're going to be able to come up with how the money was spent, right? And like I said, they didn't clarify in that report whether or not it was a, casino type bets. I'm going to assume that it was casino because they didn't say sports betting. It was on BR betting, but they didn't say sports betting. And I think that the report actually came from Florio. Crazy.
It did. I want to say it was sports betting because I listened to him on McAfee talk about it. But his point, which I think was a very valid point, the NFL needs to do better job of education, and they need to make the rules more clear, right? Because you can't bet on the NFL, period. Cool. But you can bet anything else, just not in the facility. But if you work for the team, you can't bet, period. So can you bet on the team flight? Can
So
you
wait,
bet?
wait. I thought NFL players couldn't bet NBA either. Like they
No,
can't.
they can bet anything but NFL
But just don't do it
at the facility.
at any team facility.
Right.
Okay.
So
don't do it. Basically, don't be betting on the job. You're on the clock. So why are you betting anyways?
But like if we fly in on Friday to West Coast trip, right? We're flying a day early.
Mm-hmm.
Can I bet in the hotel? I mean, it's not the team. The team doesn't own the hotel,
especially if it's legal in that state, right?
I'm in Vegas. We're playing the Raiders, and I want to put in my Saturday parlay for college football.
Right. I'm a former Georgia player. I think the Dogs are gonna, cover 23.5 against South Carolina.
So I just think the parameters are so gray that the NFL definitely owes it to themselves, to the players, and to the fans.
To clarify and talk about it.
Yeah. Did you see any of the Deion and Joel Klatt interview?
No, I got the clips. I saw the clips. I haven't seen it.
I'm gonna send you the interview. You should just listen to it just as a fan of football.
Okay.
But the conversation was amazing because Deion talked about, all the scrutiny he's been getting for getting rid of all those players.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, they're not talking about what I brought in. And Joel Klatt was like, hey, man, this was a Colorado alum, by the way. He was the quarterback in that Vince Young 70-3 ass whooping.
Yeah.
He's like,
no, I knew Klatt played for Colorado.
And he was included in the hiring process, right? He was able to hear Deion's pitch, so he knew this was Deion. This was Deion pitched to the school before they hired him. Like he said in the interview process, I'm going to screen this entire team, and I'm planning to bring in my guys. And Colorado was 1-11, and their margin of their points differential was -29. The next closest team was Northwestern, 1-11, -14. Colorado sucked. Why the fuck are you mad that he got rid of players who are not good Division I Pac-12 college football players?
Yeah.
And he talked about after he gave the Louis V speech, right? He goes into a position room and they're in there like playing music in the boombox, right? And like people think about Prime, it's flashy, but he's old school.
Yeah.
He's like, what are you doing? I just gave you a speech saying like your scholarship's on the line and you're in the meeting room where you're supposed to meet playing music. He was like, no, we don't do phones in here. You are in here to meet and to learn. Nothing on your phone is relevant to what we're talking about in this meeting room.
Right.
So the players who did not want to fall in line with the culture or who were not good enough, they left. And we try to act like with college kids, that's such a travesty. But guess what? Both of us played varsity high school sports, and we did not get the college offers that allowed us to go to certain schools.
Mm-hmm.
So guess what? We didn't get to go. Well, now you get to the school, you're not cutting the mustard. You got to leave. That's fucking life. If you're not good enough or you don't have the relationships to maintain you in a place where you're not good enough, you go.
Yep.
Get the fuck over it. Sorry it hit you at fucking 19 instead of 23. But when you graduate and start applying for jobs, hell, with my job, I've applied for jobs within my organization and I've gotten told no. They're like, hey, your record ain't good enough for what we want. Or, you know what? We already had a guy picked and you applied and we're going with.
Yeah, we were willing to hear you out, but the reality was you were going to have to do something so overwhelming to where we had to change our mind. But exactly. We also didn't want to disrespect you as a candidate by not hearing you out because you could have very well did it. You were great, but you weren't as good as who we already kind of had in mind for the job. Sorry.
Exactly. And
in a few years when the position opens up, because we think this guy's a fucking rock star. He's going
right. And like and for that particular job I'm talking about, the not even the guy's staff, the guy himself called me on my cell phone and said, hey, We decided to go in a different direction, blah, 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 blah. I ran into him about a year or so later, spoke to me. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, I remember you from the interview, blah, blah, blah. I go, okay, well, I interviewed well, you know? So
you remember that, right?
Exactly.
And I'm sure you interviewed, quite a few people.
Right. So for you to remember me,
enough to where you remember the face and the interview. Yeah.
So that's life. But you want to get into a little bit of culture?
Let's get into some culture.
Can we talk about Boosie?
I said I do this for the culture.
Yeah, we gotta say it because if we play
we really have got to get that saved. But
YouTube won't. Granted, we're not monetizing videos, but YouTube won't let us monetize with that clip. So let me play. Like Boosie is getting charged by the feds for gun charges, and I'm gonna play my response, and then we're gonna go from there. Okay.
Okay.
Bad things happen to people, but it's crazy that the feds came and got Boosie on them gun charges. You think a felon would know that he shouldn't have weapons, but he's a felon for a reason, I guess. And his promotion of street culture is got him what he wanted. I know we need prison reform, we really do, but maybe he should be locked in a cage and have to fight for his life like a dog or a chicken, Be told what to do, when to do it, because he can't make decisions for himself responsibly. So somebody got to make his own decisions, I don't know, but, he ain't going to fold. He ain't like Warner. He ain't going to fold. And, hey, for every game that Ja Morant get, he'll boost you a year for it. Show these street niggas how this shit really go. Get them out the streets. So I post that, got some pushback from some random voices on the gram, and I want to clear a few things up. Right, it was satirical. For one, like if you know me, like I'm all about making sarcastic jokes with a straight face. Do I wish jail on anyone? Yeah, if you're a criminal. If you are impeding my life, my family's life, our ability to live and move freely and be safe in this world, yeah. If you are polluting our youth, I don't wish jail on you, but I do hope that we find ways to filter the proper information to the youth so they understand. Like in pre-production, we talked about this. We listen to street music. We listen to these rappers. We don't live their lives. We're not influenced by them in a way that
we're not influenced.
That we're going to change. We're going to change our moral code for them. But like these guys are creating moral codes for the youth, and that's my fundamental issue with Boosie, is that he is someone who is respected in the Black community, and I don't know why. He talks about people who snitch and how terrible that is, but there's never a focus on how bad it is to commit crimes. One person said he needs these guns to protect his family and stuff like that. I own a gun. I carry from time to time, but I don't necessarily feel like I need a gun. And for those of you who feel like you need a gun, what are you doing? Where are you at? What situation are you in where you feel like you need one? Some of us can't get out of those situations, and that's how you survive. Others of us live in nice neighborhoods. We have key gate codes. We have security systems. We have nice neighborhoods where that's not a problem. So if you're stuck in that trap, hey man, do what you can to get out. Get off the rat wheel. But if you're able to get off the rat wheel, if you're Boosie, you've made millions of dollars making music, selling out shows, it's on you to escape that lifestyle and give others the blueprint to getting out. Rap shouldn't be the end point. It should be the means to the end. It should be the means to the better lifestyle.
Yeah.
You should use your music. You can tell your old stories. If you did all that stuff, that's terrible, right? The crimes. If you want to tell your old stories,
he does it all the time.
Yeah, you want people to relate. Tell those stories.
Matter of fact, that's what Jay-Z's music is low key built off of. It's built off of what I did and now what I do. That's literally his music, is it not?
If you want my old shit, buy my old albums, right? Like that's where it should be. It should not be clinging to a code that, for one, isn't followed and doesn't mean you any good. Like, why do we have young Black youth wanting to choose this high risk lifestyle that Jesus said all the real either dead or in jail? Well, why do you want to be real?
And at what point do we grow up as people? It's not an age necessarily. Age coincides with it typically, but it doesn't have to be an age thing. It's a, man, I grew as a person type thing. You could be at any age. That's why there's motherfuckers that are 18 that are mature as hell. Where's the growth? I guess there's no growth in doing the same things that you've been doing, for decades. We're not
The things that make you you by designing your own renters policy.
We're not even talking years. We're talking decades, Lee. Decades. It's 2023. Boosie's first hit that I can remember was probably what? Wipe Me Down was 07, but I'm sure like maybe 06 or 05, Boosie had dropped something I maybe had heard before Wipe Me Down even. And it's just like, at what point, man, does this shit change? It'd be like him constantly talking about his shoulder, chest, pants, shoes, basically like, nigga, I'm fresh as fuck or whatever. Like,
well, when he in the shower in the feds, it's gonna be shoulders, chest, pants, feet, and big fella gonna wipe him down.
He talked about it, didn't he?
And he gonna set it off in there. Set it off in the booth now. He gonna see what little badass talking about, how bad that ass is, But I just think it's unfortunate. I think that we need better leaders. And we've talked about it here before, but Tyler Perry is now running VH1, right?
That's another thing that we did, and we didn't get it because it didn't come up in the group, but I saw it today. And I was like, wow, VH1, basically by Viacom, okay, yeah. It sound like. And so
my thing is, okay,
Shannon Sharp sports show.
Huh?
Shannon Sharp sports show.
I hope so.
We talked about this, so that's why
we did.
I said, well, why not? That would be the first person that maybe, certainly if we don't watch like live,
we'll watch the clips. We'll subscribe.
Exactly. We're going to get clips. They're going to circulate.
So for me, let's do more of what Tyler Perry's doing, Hey, Oprah, promote other stuff on your network instead of like scoring Black women. Hey, Jay-Z, get a record label. Yeah, you have Rock Nation management company. That's great. But we have to start owning the infrastructure in which we operate in, And capitalism runs this world. That's why I'm a capitalist. But at my ideological core, I am more about community growth, community, like sharing within the community. Obviously, when you meet a standard, right? Like, I'm not giving handouts to everybody, but like, if you're going to work hard and you just don't have resources, you deserve resources.
Right.
But I think that we need more leaders who come from corporate world, who come from small business, who come from military, who come from healthcare, who come from legal professions. We need to get back to showing real Black excellence. And the loudest voices don't need to be our celebrities, our athletes, our entertainers. No, we need to listen to our true Black Americans who are carrying Black culture every day on the ground, not on a fucking music video, not with TMZ and stuff,
Not in the club shaking ass, and it being Instagram posts, not IG live videos doing this.
Right. Hey, I may have to get out of here in a second. So you want to hit this reality TV topic or come back to it?
We can come back to it because I feel like that deserves a lot more attention than.
Okay. So let's close it out here. Hey man, it's been great.
As always. And plus, obviously I told you I got stuff I got to get done too. Same time next week?
Yeah, absolutely. I like the earlier shoot.
Yeah.
All right, man. Shit, this was great. I'll talk to you next week. We'll have this up in a few hours.
I'll see you next week.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll see you next week.
Where are you getting up?
Friday.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not coming up Thursday. I'm coming Friday.
Yeah. Well, it's not point.
Right.
You know,
Right.
we understood the Thursday get in for that.
Yeah, I had to do the other stuff. Yeah, but yeah, we'll be up Friday.
Okay.
All right, man.
All right, brother. Till next time.
Yep.